Hey guys, in this video, we're going to be answering the question, should you actually trade Bitcoin or just buy and hold it? So recently I've been getting a lot of comments from people saying things like, don't actually trade Bitcoin, just buy and hold it and you'll get rich. And well, if we look over the past couple of years, it's obvious that if you bought Bitcoin down here around $200 or $300 and you were still holding when it reached over $2,000 and nearly $3,000, that would have been an incredible return. And a lot of people made life-changing amounts of money over the past couple of years. So yes, the buy and hold, or as I like to call it, the buy and hope strategy works really well when the markets have incredible gains. And Bitcoin has been the best performing market on the planet for the past couple of years. But if we think about the total number of people in the world that own Bitcoin right now, which I have no clue exactly how many people that is. Some people estimate that to be around 10 to 15 million people. The fact is that really only a small percentage of people that currently own Bitcoin bought Bitcoin down here in the 200s. And the large majority of people that have purchased Bitcoin for the first time did so above $1,000. How do we know that? Well, it's very, very simple. The fact that price broke out here above $1,000 just a couple of months ago and quickly tripled to $3,000 in, really just a few weeks, it didn't just magically happen. For the market to go up like that, people had to buy. There was a tremendous amount of buying pressure that caused that, right? People had to buy at these levels for it to go up this far. And because of human nature, people tend to buy something when it's hot or popular, right? That usually means when price is higher. And a very high percentage of those people that buy high typically end up panicking and selling low when the price falls by 50% or more, as we've seen Bitcoin do several times over the past few years. And if we just take a look here at Google Trends, this is the, Google search interest over time for the keyword Bitcoin, you'll notice that every time Bitcoin becomes popular with the general public, you get a spike in interest. It happened during the first bubble of 2013. It happened during the China bubble in November of 2013. And you can see it recently reached its highest interest point globally over the past couple of weeks, right? And so that just really correlates with every time that you see price go up a lot. Now, the same thing actually happened in the U.S. stock market during the 2008 financial crisis. A lot of people were buying the stock market at all-time highs here, and many people were actually doing it because Jim Cramer was on CNBC pumping the hell out of stocks right before the crash. And, a lot of people actually sold their stocks when the market fell by about 50%. And then because they were afraid of the stock market at that point, they ended up missing out on one of the biggest bull markets in recent history. Now, if you've been in Bitcoin for a few years, you know how volatile the price can be. And Bitcoin's actually had several bubbles. And the beautiful thing is that, at least so far, every bubble after it pops, prices recovered and made a new higher high. So yes, in theory, if you time it right, which is very hard to do, and most people don't do it right, and you buy on the panics and then hold long term, you would have made great returns. But just like people panicked in the stock market, for those of you that weren't around in the Bitcoin world in 2014, I want to show you what happened. And I've talked about this in past videos, but it's such an important lesson. And I think so many tens or hundreds of thousands of people can get value from this that I really want to hammer it, because what happened in the later part of 2013, right? That was here on the Bitcoin interest chart. You'll notice that price went from about $100 back here up to over 1,000. And there were a lot of people that were buying Bitcoin here. And there were many news articles that were coming out calling for Bitcoin to hit 5,000 or 10,000. And that's what enticed people to buy so high. And then a lot of people actually panic sold, losing 50 to 90% of their investment over the next year during the bear market of 2014. How do I know that? Well, I got literally hundreds of emails and messages and tweets from people saying, Chris, I screwed up. I bought really high and I just panic sold. And I actually got a couple of emails from several people that sold here below 200, which turns out to be pretty much the all-time low of the past few years. And one thing I want to show you, for anybody that's looking at this, you might be thinking like, well, I would never do that, right? Like, that's stupid. Obviously, in hindsight, you want to buy low and sell high. And what happens though is, imagine you bought at $1,000, right? And then price is going down. And then I want to show you this website. So on 99 Bitcoins, there's a section of this website that talks about Bitcoin obituaries. And it's pretty funny. It says Bitcoin has died 138 times. Basically, anytime the news posts an article about Bitcoin is doomed, they add this to this list. And so if we go back now to the later part of 2014, okay, so we'll start in like October or November of 2014, which is right around here, right? Which in hindsight, again, is the all-time low before Bitcoin went on its multi-year bull run. But just read some of these articles. And again, imagine that you bought at $1,000 and then you start seeing articles like this. Where did Bitcoin go wrong? And this is when the price is at 333. Bitcoin is bust. Why investors should abandon the doomed cryptocurrency. These are like some really scary headline. December 2014, Bitcoin bears say told you so, right? And then all you do is you see the price going down and down and down. And then check this out. If we scroll up a little bit further, we see this. When price was $182, we actually bought it at $188, by the way. But when price was $182, Bitcoin plummets and it may be stuck in a self-fulfilling downward spiral. Again, imagine you bought it at 1,000 and you're down like 80% on this. Like, that's why people panic sell at the bottom, right? So for anybody that just blatantly says like, oh, just buy and hold on, in theory, that sounds great. But the reality is that most people don't do that because of price volatility. Okay. Just like the past videos I did, when every time Bitcoin crashes, people typically freak out and sell the lows. So I have a couple of questions to ask for anybody that has kind of the buy and hope mentality, meaning I just want to buy and then just hope that it keeps going up forever. Are you willing to hold the coins that you purchased if price crashes by, say, 90% from its current price? Okay, so let's just round off right now, and I know Bitcoin's a little bit higher than this, but for simplicity's sake, let's say Bitcoin is at $2,000. Okay. And let's say that you bought at $2,500, and so you're a little bit upside down right now. The question is if Bitcoin crashed 90% from where it is right now, would you still be willing to buy and hope that it keeps going up? Now, obviously, if you bought at 200 and it crashes 90%, you're not going to have as much fear and pain because you bought at a much lower price, right? But again, the reality is that because price went up so much so quickly, a significant amount of people purchased up here, right? So my second question would be, what will you do if you wake up tomorrow and Bitcoin's price is down 20%, 30%, 50%? Right? And again, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but what I do say is, again, anytime that Bitcoin's price goes up by more than 100% in a very short period of time, that's a sign that a pullback could come, right? And now we saw pretty big, deep pullbacks back here, even in March, right? We went from like 1,300 down and stabbed below 900, or back in January, 11 or 1,200 down into the 700s, right? That is a very big percentage loss, but you can see every time that happened, at least so far, it's recovered, right? So again, I'm not calling for like the top in Bitcoin. I'm not saying doom and gloom. What I want to do is I want to get everybody thinking about a plan of action, because the buy and hope mentality has never worked for investors, right? People that bought gold at the height in 2011 end up losing 30, 40, almost 50% of their value, right? Same with real estate and, the 2005 area, right? People that bought at the top ended up, some of them losing 60, 70% of their value. So what I would suggest everybody do, no matter if you consider yourself an investor, a trader, an entrepreneur, or whatever, is just ask, do you have a plan for every possible market move? Meaning, and this is a personal question, like where did you buy? If you did buy, what would you do if price pulled back and retested the prior breakout area? What would you do if it held up here above 2000 and broke out to a new high, right? These are the questions that you want to start thinking about. That way you don't get surprised by market activity, because a lot of people that don't know and they just kind of buy at a price and then they wake up and they see prices down by 50% the next day. A lot of them just panic sell, and rightfully so. I mean, that's human nature, right? So instead of doing something like that, let me tell you how I approach this and maybe what I think would be a much better way. I actually have two strategies, okay? I invest for the long term when price is cheap, okay? So just like, nobody wanted to accumulate Bitcoin in 2015 when it was around 200, that's when it's cheap, right? When it's a value play. And then when price is high, I like to trade big volatility when the price is high. So what does that mean? Well, there's several different trading strategies, and I'll give you my top 5 types of trades, right? There's a few different ways that we do this. So again, number 1 is pretty much what I just said, long-term accumulation when prices are cheap, meaning you buy, you put it in cold storage, and you kind of forget about it, right? Number 2 is when you actually can short, meaning you can make money when the price of Bitcoin falls, whenever you see breakdown patterns, right? When it's expensive, right? So just like I got a lot of hate in 2013 when I was shorting Bitcoin on these pops and throughout the bear trend, and we had breakdown patterns, right? Like people were like, Chris, why are you so negative on Bitcoin? I wasn't negative on Bitcoin. I just saw the potential to make some money as the price was going down, or at least hedge your losses, right? Like if you're holding Bitcoin long term, the value of those is going to go down in a bear trend. But if you're shorting and you're doing it the right way, you can actually make money, or at least hold, the same value. So number 3 is I also like to trade volatile altcoins to increase Bitcoin holdings. So right now we've been in an ICO bubble, right? There have been so many cryptocurrencies that are coming out. There's been incredible volatility in cryptocurrencies. And, if we just take a look at like Ethereum right now, you can see that this has been incredibly volatile recently, where it went up many hundreds of percentage points, and then you can see it's been pulling back a very big percentage just over the past few days. So there's been a lot of activity in here, and there's been a lot of money to make actually actively trading this stuff, right? And you can see again, like on coins like Stratus that went up thousands of percentage points, even just a regular pullback in these markets on a percentage basis can be really big trades, right? And so what a lot of people do, and I always say like 90% or more of altcoins are going to go to zero eventually. Most of them are going to turn out to be worthless, but that doesn't mean that you can't make money trading them in the meantime, right? To increase your holdings. Number 4 is I like to buy Bitcoin on massive panics, right? Bounce plays. We've had several of these recently where you can actually make money either scalping or swing trading bounce plays. Every time that the market has panicked off over the past 2 years, we've had really nice bounce plays. And I'll give you even a older example going back to 2014. The first time that Bitcoin actually sold off below 500, I bought here at 502. And then caught the uptrend up to 900, right? So there was a really nice, what we call swing trade. It was a couple of weeks long, from about 500 up into the high $800 mark, right? So that's what I mean. When people are panicking and selling at the bottom, that's oftentimes a really good opportunity to step in. Now, you have to have a lot of confidence. If you're trying to buy big washouts, you have to be pretty good. Like that's more of an advanced thing, because if you think about it, when you're buying, it's when things look really ugly. So you have to understand risk management very well. And then number 5, and I think this is probably the most important thing for new traders, is stay away from choppy price action, right? Like, don't over trade. We talked about this in the last video, but it's so important that I wanted to say it again. I don't day trade Bitcoin. There's a misconception. People say, Chris, how do you day trade Bitcoin? I don't typically day trade Bitcoin. Most of my trades I hold for several days or weeks on average, right? I'm not in here trying to scalp every little move. It's only when there's increased volatility and increased profit potential that I'll even consider taking a day trade. But I think it would be a mistake to come in here and to try to take scalp trades every single day in the crypto markets. They're not liquid enough, in my opinion. You don't have the volatility, and because of the exchange issues that we've been having recently, which I'm not even going to go to in this video, that's another reason that you kind of want to stay away from doing that. So I hope this is helpful, guys. Again, just some key points. It's okay to invest and hold Bitcoin long term, but just be aware where you're actually doing that, right? Like if you're buying high, ask yourself those questions and ask, hey, am I somebody that would be interested in actively trading when the price is high and when there's big volatility? And if the answer is yes to that, I have a free Bitcoin basics course. I'll link that up below. If you want to learn more information, you can reach out to me, leave a comment if you have a question in the videos. I try to get to as many as I can. And again, thank you guys for watching. I hope you get a lot of value out of these videos, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.